Okay, you guys, let's do this. It's going to be so professional. Like, so professional. Here we go. Welcome to the Live Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele VanDusen and June Colson, a couple of clean comedians who support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. I hope you're ready. Get set. Let's go. Since podcasts have a catchy tune, we wrote this song for Michele and June. Clean comedians are best friends too. Oh, it's so good. And you never know what they'll say or do. Here we go, sing with me on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. We'll have a ball, with June, who's really tall. They have fun, interviewing comedians on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. Now it's time to start Live Support.
The Live Support Podcast is brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network.
Wow, give yourself a round of applause.
Welcome. Oh no. Welcome to the award-winning Live Support Podcast. I'm your host, June Colson, here with Michele with one L and Michele with a kazoo. Michele with one L, Trisha's sister, Rhonda Colson, Corey's friend. Don't call me Shelly, the kazoo queen, Michele VanDusen. What do you got there?
But who
Van
gave me
Dusen?
this crazy kazoo? It was you. I got it from the JuneColsonComedy.com.
There it is.
Yeah, I got a kazoo from you. So this is your worst nightmare. You're welcome. Or
Actually, no,
or is this as exciting as...
So I sent you home with the kazoo because I thought it would go far, far away, but I never thought about it coming back onto the podcast. So for those of you who are listening, not watching, we've opened the show with Michele with her custom purple kazoo from June Colson Comedy. On the front, what does it say, Michele?
Kazoo can do it.
Kazoo can do it. It's definitely a mom joke. It's definitely cheesy. And I am so excited to be here with you today, Michele, because we are going to talk about your road trip to Kentucky, your gig at the Huckabee Show, where you got to warm up the crowd, all the amazing people that you met, your wonderful sidekick who traveled with you, and all about that journey to Kentucky. So are we ready to dive in? Just getting right into it.
I think we are. I think we're ready. So yeah,
Awesome.
We're ready. Okay.
Awesome. Well, let's first start with what I'm wearing and what you're wearing. Okay. I can say that this trip was filled with gifts. Okay. So right now I am wearing a gray Michelle'sComedy.com t-shirt that says, "I'm not fat, I'm pre-fit."
What? That's hilarious. People should buy those.
So that is the funniest joke I've ever heard in my life. Buy one of these shirts. It is truly, though, it's like super comfortable. This t-shirt is like very soft and stretchy and comfy, and I love it. And here's what's cool. So the t-shirt that I'm wearing is gray with a bright pink lettering, and Michele is just kind of the opposite colors of me. Michele, tell our audience what you're wearing.
I'm wearing a pink shirt from June Colson Comedy. It says "Oopsie Daisy," and it's in white print, and it's got a daisy and huge lettering. I love this shirt so much because your joke, it's with Daisy VanDusen. So I'm like, I'm totally wearing it.
Yes,
you have another shirt that I also love, but it's in blue. And it's if you can't beat them, tase them. And that is hilarious to me. You got to listen to the joke. You got to hire June. And so you just got to hear that joke. It's so funny.
Now, Michele, you would have had one of those t-shirts earlier if I wasn't too cheap to mail it. So you had to drive.
I would pay for it.
You had to drive how many hours to come get that t-shirt? Let's talk about. So you came from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Who was your driver and how long was that trip?
Okay, so it seemed like forever. No, it was about 10 hours. And of course, my driver is always my husband. I say that's not true. Sometimes I have friends that drive me, so I shouldn't say it like that. But for this trip, it was my husband, Ross. And we had a great time. It was wonderful. We only got lost like 3 times. So,
Hmm.
you know, hey, this is what happens. If you hire me to be the navigator and I'm sleeping on the job, guess what? We're going to miss turns.
Mhm. I think we've already learned that from from an episode with Tina Brazil, where we got to learn all about how somehow you were like an hour and a half off the path to eat at a random restaurant. So yeah, it's
Okay, we
I'm
picked
just
to go there. We picked to go to that restaurant. We're never ever going to be allowed to interview Dina O'Hara. She has a gag order that she's never allowed to talk about my navigational skills when we were headed to the CCA a few times. So just, of course, I
yes.
didn't lose the keys to the car. That would be her, but whoops.
Oh,
Anyway.
okay. Okay. All right, Dina, be prepared to spill the tea later. Okay, be prepared. Okay, so your amazing husband Ross drove you. Now you're performing at the Huckabee Show. You're the crowd warm-up comic, but you guys chose to come in a little bit early and come hang out at my house. And you came, Michele, bearing so many gifts. So many gifts.
Just a
I have
couple. Just a couple.
I have a couple of them with me. Okay, so Michele, I'm holding up now a cool travel bag. It's a UK University of Kentucky. Even though I'm like super disappointed in how we did in the tournament, it's okay. I'm still
Yeah, okay.
you know.
So that bag came from my Aunt Carol, who gave it to me the last time we were in Kentucky. And I thought, oh, when I go back to Kentucky, June needs to have this because it's fantastic. And you're in UK, right? Which sounds like
No,
we're
I'm not in the
another
United
country.
Kingdom.
I
I'm
know.
in Kentucky. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
but
So
first
like
wait,
that's your
slow down. So you're telling me you re-gifted? This
yes,
wasn't a,
yes.
you
But that is an unused regift. Okay. So because what
But does
happened?
Aunt Carol know? Does Aunt Carol
Well, now
know
she
you
does. Now
gave
she
me
does.
the gift,
Now she-
Michele? I love you, Aunt Carol. Thank you. And anytime you want to give Michele something, just think of me. Just think of me. And then how about let's skip the middleman, Aunt Carol? Just bring it straight to me. I'm an hour down the road from you, Aunt Carol. Any gift that you would like to give me, I am willing to receive. I'll meet you halfway. Okay? All right. So moving on. So disappointed. And but you know what? You know what wasn't regifted or was it? I don't know. Was 2 boxes of M&Ms that you put inside. And can I tell you something about those boxes of M&Ms?
Yeah.
I'm trying to okay, so I got my I'm not fat, I'm pre-fit t-shirt on, but I really am working out more and just trying to get back in shape and that kind of I say back in shape as if I was ever, but I'm trying to get in a better shape, right? And so you got me 2 boxes of peanut M&Ms. And so I told
balance. It's a balanced diet. Yeah.
Well, I told myself, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave those boxes of M&Ms in my travel bag, right? And then I will take them with me on a gig. Like I will save one for my next road trip gig because I always bring my own snacks and food and all that. And then the following gig, that'll be my little treat to myself after, doing a show, whether it's to celebrate a great show or to get over a really bad show. So the box of M&Ms, that was the game plan. And then I ate them all the next day. Yeah, I ate them. I've already eaten them. They're gone. They're like way gone. So either way.
Ross, you gave Ross a big container of peanut
I
M&Ms.
did.
And he has them in his office and he doesn't share until last night. I went in there and I held my cup because it was empty. And he's like, what? I said, this cup is empty. And I think I need some M&Ms. He's like, oh. And he just stared at me. I'm like, with, the peanut M&Ms. He's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. As he's eating some. So then he goes, okay. And he hands me one. I'm like, no. So he did he gave me about this much of peanut M&Ms. So I got to have a couple. So that was nice.
So you had about an inch and a half on the bottom of your cup full of M&Ms.
The truth about seven.
The truth about Ross's M&Ms is that was my second container of M&Ms that I bought for Ross because I bought like a big bag of them and I put them up in the pantry like way high where I would have to climb to go get them. Like I threw them behind some stuff And within 24 hours, I got a step stool and I opened the bag and I ate his M&Ms in the course of the next few days. So the day that you guys came, I went to Sam's Club and I bought the bigger container the day of, because I knew I could at least control myself in one day till you guys got there. So you gave me that. You gave me that gift. You gave me Aunt Carol's gift. Oh, I'm not my.
Oh yeah, don't knock it down.
She gave me Aunt Carol's gift. So that was really good. What else, Michele?
Okay, so when we travel, I feel like now as we've gotten older that we're kind of turning into, at least my parents. I don't know how Ross's parents traveled, but this is where we stopped. So we had to stop
at Cracker Barrel.
That Cracker Barrel. Why? Because we have gift cards. So we had to.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. Someone gave us some gift cards for Christmas, and I'm like, we're going to Cracker Barrel. It was so exciting, and it was wonderful.
What did you eat? What did you order at Cracker Barrel? I love Cracker Barrel.
I think it's Big Mama's breakfast or Mama's breakfast or something like that, where it's pancakes and eggs, and then it has some kind of meat. So I always get the bacon and give that to Ross. I'll have like a couple bites of it, but I'm not a huge bacon person, and I gotta make sure I have my eggs. I mean, that's a definite. So
how are we friends? You're not a big bacon person. I guess it's the chocolate. We meet in the middle on the chocolate, but the bacon, come on.
So if I have a entree or something that has bacon with it, I could be like, here, June, have the bacon. You're like, oh, thank you so much. See, like that's how it works that way.
That makes sense. Okay, so you went to Cracker Barrel and had breakfast. Okay,
Yes,
awesome. Did you get anything from the gift shop? Because I really struggle like walking. They have the cutest stuff.
Yes.
So what'd you get at the gift shop?
Let's see. This particular time I would show you, but it's all gone. I got the cowtails, and then got those little Necco wafers, whatever, because Ross loves those. Those are his favorite little chalk things.
Yeah. Ew.
Yeah. And then I got a gift, and it's for my sister. And I'm not going to reveal that until after I've sent it to her. So, but it's shaped like this. I'm just saying, but that's not okay. It's just.
Well, hopefully she just listens to the podcast and she doesn't watch it. So you didn't see anything. You didn't see anything.
You didn't see
okay,
nothing.
So you stopped at the Cracker Barrel. Mm-hmm. Was that on the way to my house?
No, that was actually after we left, because it was on our way to go see Aunt Carol. And oh my gosh, I got this lovely jacket. I should have. Anyway, it's in the room. Aunt Carol is the best. Her and Uncle Richard, and we ended up staying overnight at Aunt Carol's, so that because they're having a birthday party for Uncle Richard, and so we got to see way more family that was in town. They came for his birthday party, and we met cousins that we've never seen before. Like I knew like 3 people at that party. Like that was it. Yes. My husband, Aunt Carol, Uncle Richard. Oh, and Crystal, because Crystal did my hair last time. So that was it. I knew those 4 people, so I got to meet 30 more. So it was a lot of fun.
Did Ross introduce you as a celebrity that you had just left the Huckabee Show and you had just done the crowd warm up and you were there with a lot of very important people like June from June Colson Comedy and whatever, Rudy Giuliani or somebody else that people might know.
This girl.
Michele, okay. For our listeners, I did my hair and makeup every day that Michele was at my house, but she chose to wait and take photos the moment they were leaving when I have no makeup on. My hair is insane. This is how I'm like, this is how you know if your friend is a true friend, Michele, is they don't post pictures of you looking like a chubby psycho, but that's what you did. We did some goofy pictures on my front porch and I look absolutely insane. It is not attractive at all, but it's hilarious. So
here's a better one. Here, you have your makeup done on this one. And my smile is like, what was I doing? I was clenching my teeth like, hi here.
I look full on like an Amazon woman beside you. So Michele shared her first picture that she shared was of me and I think my pajama pants,
Yeah,
and
you're right.
we're wearing each other's t-shirts. We're on our front porch and I am pretending to punch Michele in the face. And now I'm kind of glad I was doing that pose because you posted some really ugly pictures of me. The second picture, I full on look like an Amazon woman, and that is in the green room at the Huckabee Show, and I got some weird side hip cheerleader triple chin face thing. You, Michele, are the most photogenic person. You look adorable in every picture that you are in. Rhonda Corey from Rhonda Corey Comedy and I talk about it all the time. Everybody knows Michele looks so cute in all of her pictures. And then I'm like the weirdo who can't even keep her eyes open. I'm always like cockeyed or like weird looking, one of my eyes closed or crossed, or I don't know. Or I look like bug-eyed Junebug. There it is. And surprise! You know what? This episode is full on. It doesn't even matter if people listen, because this is all about Michele posting embarrassing photographs of me. So that's great.
So here's the thing. I tried to replicate this picture while I was on stage at the Huckabee. And the only reason why I got a picture was because you are like the best stage mom ever. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I don't think the experience of doing crowd warm up at Huckabee would have been as good if you weren't with us. Like, that was a huge, huge thing for me. So first, I just want to say thank you so much. If you don't have a friend like June, get one. Okay. Get somebody that's going to support you while you're doing something that's a bigger stage than you've been on before, kind of thing. It's like, and it's not like the crowd was bigger. Like, I've been in front of bigger crowds.
Right.
But because this has, it's just a different echelon, anyway. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun.
That's a big word, Michele. Echelon.
Thank you.
I will look that up later. No, it's definitely, it's a different environment. I hope you didn't. I hope you didn't use it wrong. No, it is a different environment. I mean, you're backstage, and this is a television production. This is a job that you're being, paid for to entertain the audience. Your situation was a little bit different. I mean, I say it's a little bit different, but truly, like, that's the job that you signed up for. That's a job that you signed up for. So the times that I've done crowd warm up, it's basically been the same pattern. Is they play a video that tells the audience about the theater they're in and all of that stuff, and then there's applause, and I come out and I get to do a little warm up, and I introduce the host for the night, that kind of thing, or the voice of the Huckabee Show, and it's kind of the same pattern. Where what happened with you, Michele? Tell us about how yours was a different experience.
Well, I practiced this man's name so many times.
What's his name? Okay.
Keith Bilbrey. Did I say it right? Okay.
That is right. It is Keith Bilbrey. Now, Keith used to be the voice of the Grand Ole Opry, and he does all the announcing for the Huckabee Show. He is a legend, and he is amazing. And yes, it's a different name, especially if you're nervous.
Yeah, because I kept saying, because I asked, you told me like one time or whatever, like, oh, you'll announce, Keith Bilbrey. I'm like, okay. And then in my head, I kept going, okay, Bill Keithry. And I was like, wait, that's not right. So I was like, wait, June, what is it? So thank God for you that you told me, like, it's Keith Bilbrey. Keith. I'm like, okay. So I would make sure I would memorize it, And then we get there, and I believe it was Angel was one of the ladies back there giving us the result. So you have
Angie. I think Angie? It was I'm sorry, Angela.
Angela, yeah. I said Angel. Yes. So Angela.
You said Angel. She is an angel.
She is. But so she gives you instructions, like where you're walking out to, where your mark is and that kind of stuff. So she told me, she was, okay, we're going to be filming everything backwards or out of order tonight. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And it was because they were having the Zombies, which is a musical rock group, for those that have never heard of them, like me. But then after I heard them sing, I'm like, oh, I know this song. Like, I've heard it before. Yes. Anyway, so the Zombies, because they're going to be interviewed, first they filmed them performing. And then while they changed the stage from all of their instruments to the interview couch, I was supposed to be doing the warm up at that point, which which is different and
Mhm.
different order. So then, because you asked me like, oh, do you have to interview? Do you have to introduce the announcer? I'm like, oh, I don't think I do. So I asked, and like, oh no. I'm like, okay. So then I didn't even have to even say Keith's
Yes.
name, which
Yes.
was like,
No.
whew, okay, all right, I can handle this out of order thing. But it was different, and I'm glad that they told me, because you have so much happening behind you,
Mhm.
and if you're distracted, or if you're like, oh, squirrel, you could end up just talking about all what's going on behind you the whole time. And so
Yes.
that was a little, if I didn't know that at least 10 minutes before, I would have been like, oh, well, what are they doing now? I would have been talking about it.
Yes.
Like, because, as a comic, you're supposed to kind of address the things that are happening in the room. However, for that situation, they didn't want me talking about that at all. So,
Huh.
yeah, so that was
No,
fun.
the whole like purpose in that point is them switching it around was because you had a band and they were awesome. They were rocking, right? And the
Yeah,
crowd is like into it and all of that stuff. And you didn't want this dead moment, right?
right.
Before Governor Huckabee came out and started the show and the interview with them. And so your job at that point was to keep their attention, to keep them smiling, to keep them engaged while a lot of distracting things were going on. And that's exactly what you did. You did a fantastic job. It's not like doing a club or a church or, a theater or anything like that. Like this is a job that you are to just keep people engaged, let them know that, that we still see you, we're still having a good time, all, for the transition. So it's not about you, it's
Yeah.
about them. And you did, it was so much fun. Ross and I sat in the VIP area, which I normally don't sit there. I'm usually in the audience, but this, there was no seats in the audience. And so the spot that we were sitting was behind the soundboard and all of that. And Michele, the guy doing sound and working all that, you had him cracking up. Like he was laughing at all of your jokes, and it was cool. It was a whole different perspective. And we
Mhm.
were able to take photographs from that box when normally you cannot do that. If you're sitting in the studio audience, you
Yeah.
can't. But no matter what, our pictures that we took, there was nothing compared to what you got back from the Huckabee show. So do you have some of
Yeah,
those you can show us where you were
I
on
do.
stage?
Yeah, I do. And so that was the thing, is we would not have had these pictures except you were there, and the photographer was there. And so you mentioned, because this is back to you being an amazing stage mom, I'm going to put it like that, or stage friend. You're like, hey, she's going to be on. Could you take pictures? And he goes like, oh, okay. And so I tried to reproduce this picture of you. So
Yeah.
this is my attempt at reproducing that, and it isn't
Oh, very
anything like
good.
yours, because if you could see, it looks like I'm singing. It looks
It
like
does look like you're singing.
I'm singing something, and I won't tell you if I was or not. I wasn't. So like that's one. And then I tried to reproduce this picture of you, of just the reaching out to the
The
audience,
reaching out. Yes,
the
yes. I
reaching
was
out, like,
healing someone. I was
yeah,
like, be
praying for
healed. I don't
them,
know what
something. Yeah.
with the
So,
grit teeth. Yeah.
yep. So this is my attempt. I
Oh,
wasn't as bold as you were to just stretch my arm out. But also in this picture, you can see that the guy behind me is setting up the couch for the interview
yes.
process.
Yes.
So that was good. And then of course, let's see, I did the hand, the thing. Okay, what about this one? When you're like, I'm not sure what's happening
Yes.
here.
A little
So
head tilt to the left.
little head tilt. So I attempted, and I didn't tilt the head. I just kind of did the hand, and you could still see there's still more action happening behind me
Yes. Yes.
during that. And then this next shot is what Juanette Turner called the money shot. Uh,
Yes, that is the money shot. That is such a perfect photograph. So we're looking at it's framed up where you can see Huckabee, just, a little off focus, soft focused in the background. Michelle is smiling. The mic is right below her chin, so you can see her beautiful smile. Like, fantastic. Now, I will tell you that in general, they do take pictures of the warm up comics, but what I didn't know, like the first time I was there, they sent me my photographs just automatically and
Mhm.
all that. Well, I didn't know that, and I think that was just out of kindness because it was my first time there and those type of things. But then after that, you've got to request it and you get in, to get those photographs. So when the photographer happened to be backstage, I wanted to just be sure that you knew exactly how to get those pictures, because my second appearance there, I didn't get the photographs. All I got was this one picture you're showing. Well, actually a couple that Christy Condor took of me. So,
Yeah.
excuse me, I'm happy to have those, but I wanted to be sure that you got them. And also just a moment to thank that particular photographer, because I've seen him several times doing photographs of the comics and people using that on their websites and all that, because it's just a unique moment. And he
Yeah.
does a great job of capturing
Yes.
those moments. And he did a fantastic job. Kurt, I believe, is his name. And he did a fantastic job of capturing that moment. So
Yeah.
what were you surprised the most about? Like, what was maybe just something that you're like, oh, I didn't expect that, or I didn't imagine that being, part of this whenever you did the warm up?
Well, okay. So when you first get there, we parked in the parking lot, like in the back area. And when we walked, and the security guy says, "Well, you could have parked over here." And we're like, "Wait, but we're just, the warm up." And he's like, "No, you can." We're like, "Huh, interesting." So that was kind of neat. You had to be let in by security, and then of course, because I had a personal tour guide, like I didn't have to question where I was going next. You had to go upstairs. I I did not expect that many stairs. Okay. That was a lot of stairs from the set to the green room, back to the set, back to the green room, back like that. I did a
Yeah,
lot of stairs that night.
you did.
And
You
I
did.
am very thankful that it didn't like it didn't kill me the next day,
Right.
because like that will be like if I'm going to be a warm up when I do this again, I'm going to at least be like a month beforehand doing stairs just so I'm ready.
Do the
Just so
practice.
ready. Yeah, because whew, that was crazy amount of stairs.
It is a lot of steps.
Yeah, it was because you had the one flight, the second flight. Yeah. Anyway, so that was one thing, was the stairs. Really, the stairs? Yes, the stairs. And because I wasn't sure where I was supposed to start, where the spot was, because I didn't know if there's gonna be an X over there. I didn't know if there was a circle light. Like I wasn't positive. So I'm glad that I asked, where am I supposed to stand? And I got
Yeah.
that information, which was nice. And then the green room, it was beautiful in there. Like the whole
Hmm.
the whole place, as everyone is very kind and
Yeah.
very gracious. And so let's see. So the show had the zombies. It had Dr. Maria Ryan. It had Jennifer O'Neill, Rudy
Rudy
Giuliani,
Giuliani, Dennis
uh,
Kucinich.
yeah, and then Terry Fator, which I
Yes.
was like, "What, Terry Fator?" Like I was, was really excited about
Hmm.
meeting him. So that was really cool. And so just meeting everybody, and I would not have been like, "Hey, can we do a picture?" But because I have the best friend ever, I got a picture. Boom.
Yes. So we're looking at a picture. On the left is Terry Fator.
Yeah.
Michelle's in the middle, and her husband, the saint that
Oh,
got
yeah.
her there, is to the right. And let's talk about Terry Fator and what a horrible diva, mean person he was.
Are you kidding me? He was amazing. Super
Yes.
kind.
Yep.
And his wife also. So he and his wife, but I don't remember.
Gorgeous. His wife was a beauty.
Yes, and I can't remember her name, and I feel awful that I didn't have a picture with her also. It was like, you dropped the ball on that one, June. But
She popped in after we took the pictures. So
yeah, I'm just
we
saying
had
we'd be like, excuse me, can we do another one?
yes, yes. No,
But
he was very kind and accommodating, and just like sometimes
so
you
nice.
meet somebody of that caliber. I mean, this guy has his own theater in Vegas, and he was the first winner of America's Got Talent. And that was the first Las Vegas show I went to that my husband got tickets to. We went and saw Terry Fator because my husband had seen him on America's Got Talent. He was like, oh man, I'd love to see this guy in person. And so sometimes you'll meet a celebrity and they will be surface kind, like you can tell they're just, oh, it's the little people and I will be nice to them. This guy really was just genuine. A kind, genuine human being to talk to. That was really cool to get to meet him.
Yeah, and what was nice is, after the picture, I actually got to spend a little bit of time actually talking to him, about comedy and little things like that. So not a lot of time, but just a little. And so it was really, it was just wonderful to be able to do that. So that was fun. Plus the green room had some pretty awesome snacks. They had cannolis, mini cannolis.
I know.
I'm all about the cannoli. And I'm like, I need to come back just for that. Like, I'm just saying was fantastic. Like, it was like, yay. And they had fruit and other, nuts and things like that. So that was really nice. And then of course, this lady right here, she's amazing.
The Wynette Turner. We've had her on the show. She has given so many, look at you smiling beside. She was right in the middle of two Michelles right there. So we have a picture of Michelle with Wynette Turner, and she somehow got her face on the screen twice to be.
Put your head out
in the middle. Hey, it's us and Wynette. So we've interviewed last season. We had Wynette on the show, and she does a fantastic job for the Huckabee Show, and she is the person who affords the opportunities for comedians like us to be able to come on and have the amazing experience with the folks at the Huckabee Show. Yeah. She does a great job with the audience and just making everybody feel very special. And so you got to take a picture with Wynette and her mom. Yes. And just after that, Wynette's son, that following Tuesday, was making his debut on the Grand Ole Opry, Chase Matthew. And what was so cool is like she got to play like show video of him singing on stage, and literally like a mama's heart. I watched it and I I don't cry much. Like I'm not a teary-eyed person, and I literally.
Like, that proud feeling, and you just tears. Yeah.
As one mom's heart to another mom's heart is just this knowing, just a little bit of what we know of their journey and their family and her musical background and her mother. I mean, recently they posted a video of Wynette and her mother singing with Chase on stage, which is phenomenal. Yeah. What a special moment. And, as a mother and as a mom of boys, and as someone who loves my family so deeply, like literally watching that video of him singing and hearing her sing the lyrics in the background, it got me a little teary-eyed. I was like, oh no, my reputation is ruined because I just had a little tear for that family. But yeah, so Wynette, so you got to talk with her just a little bit after, and that was awesome.
Now, this next picture is someone that you would probably typically overlook. This is, I was going to say the wrong name. Whoops. I want to say Candace, but that's not right. Anyway, I'll put it in
her mother was Charlene. And
Charlize.
She is,
Charlize.
If I'm right, her name is Charlize. And, like you couldn't overlook her because she's a good 2 inches taller than you. Now maybe.
Okay. No, what I'm saying is because Charlize was someone in the background that she was doing the snacks. So she's like can be considered like craft services kind of a thing. And so she's studying broadcasting and things like that. So she works with her mom when her schedule opens up, because she also works production at a local church and things like that. So but typically when you go to shows and stuff, especially as open mic comics, as warm-up comics, the host, like if you're the opening act or even the middle, like just even as a feature, you always have to make sure that you're kind and friendly to everybody in every production.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to make sure I gave a little shout out to her, even though I couldn't remember her name. I was like, yes, Charlize.
Charlize, yeah, she was a doll baby and super sweet. Yes. I love taking pictures with everybody. That's why I was like, you were sitting and having a conversation with her, and I think regardless of what the person's job is, whether they're a producer or they're running errands for people or whatever, it's just fun to meet everybody and learn a little bit about them. And you're a lot like me, Michele. Like by the time you walk away, you probably knew her class schedule. You probably have her text message and your check.
Well,
did you check
she's
your
on a
vitamins
gap.
this
She's on
morning,
a gap
Michele?
year right now, so
Oh, okay.
her
Oh,
class
exactly.
schedule. Yeah. So her class schedule is the actual hands-on working production and things like that, which was really cool. So yeah, and we chatted about everything and then some, about cameras and all sorts of stuff. So it was a lot of fun. It's like the whole Huckabee crew. It's like you've just been welcomed into a family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know when my next family reunion will be, but I do know that I'm on the rotation now. So I know that I will get to do this again. So I'll get to book this beautiful bed and breakfast in Kentucky first. I have to say that was probably the best bed and breakfast I've ever been to.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for opening up your home to moi. So that was a lot of fun. And of course, at the end of the show, you're supposed to, so being the warm-up comic, you also have to be ready at any point if they need you again for anything. And so that was also interesting. It was watching the camera. You had to watch the countdown clock because you had to make sure that you were on time, and you can't go over that time. Like that's it.
Right.
And
Right.
so when I was rehearsing prior to this, it was like, okay, so they say plan for 7, but when you get there, it's always 6 minutes. Do a 6-minute set. So I had to practice a 5-minute set. I practiced a 6-minute set. I practiced a 7-minute set. And the way I had my timer on my computer, I was going up, I was timing it that way. And I was like, oh, wait, this is TV. They'll probably have a countdown. So I changed how I was rehearsing, which I'm so glad I did, because sure enough, that clock was a countdown clock. And if I wouldn't have known that, and if I would have saw like 2 minutes, I'd be like, oh, I just started. You know what I mean? Like that would have messed with my head. You're like, oh, I got to go a lot longer. So I was glad that I was ready for that part. And so, and the countdown clock was on all the cameras. So you didn't have to just look at one. You could, glance at all of them. So that way, and it was also, the audience is set pretty far away from the stage because the cameras are in between you and the audience. Unlike if you're at a larger church where the cameras are in the back, then the audience. So so in a church service, the audience is closer, but TV production, the audience is much farther. It's kind of like doing an outdoor event, where people are just farther away. So you're not going to hear your laugh. The laughter is as easily. And plus now you also have the obstruction of cameras. So if you're going to, like at people, you have to, shift a little, turn a little, just so you can see other people. But there's like a zillion monitors everywhere. So the audience can see everything no matter what.
They can. Yeah.
You can't. So you only get to see it, a handful. So that was neat. And it was also good to know ahead of time that, because even though that there's a balcony there, the audience is only on the first floor. So you didn't have to look up to, hey, you didn't have to do a two-tier kind of thing. It was
I don't think, Michele, that balcony is real.
Yeah. That's good to know.
There's no I think there's excuse me, a couple of little things to the side where they can do stuff, but actually seating for a balcony above or whatever, there's none of that.
No, there isn't. Like I was asked, so even though at first oh, it's a balcony, and then they're like, is it? They're like, no. I'm like, okay. So that was nice to know that it was just the one floor. And then when you're standing backstage waiting to go on, you seriously have someone that has headphones on and, they're talking in their little mic, okay, bringing out Michele. You're like, oh, okay. That was kind of a different little thing,
Yeah.
It was, so that was neat because they have everything timed. And so you just stand there and you just wait your turn, and there's a monitor in the back so you can see what's happening. It was just a really, really fun experience. And then after the show, you're supposed to go out in the lobby area and just greet and meet people, kind of a thing. And, thanks for coming or whatever. And then after that, if you want to, you can then jump in the line that the audience is doing, because Mr. Huckabee is out there greeting people. So it was nice that we got to go and he remembered Ross's name. Now Ross is in this picture, but I didn't show it.
You cropped your husband
Cropped
out
him out.
for another man. What is that about?
That's right. Well, he's on my Facebook page. But when, after the show, after he's interviewed, after he's done this entire thing, he comes back around. He's like, oh yeah, Ross. Like, he knew his name.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's like, that's amazing, because I have a hard time like remembering people's names right after they told me. So
right. So you practiced their name for 2 months and still was worried that you were going to not say the right name.
Still to this day, I'm like, yeah. And then so it's just one of those things. Like, I was impressed with that he knew him, and he asked him questions about a conversation that I had earlier. Because so when we were upstairs in the green room, you and I were in the bathroom I was changing my clothes and stuff. And the Ross was in the green room meeting, the governor and all these people. Because like, and who are you? Goes, well, my wife's doing crowd work. So he is back there talking with everybody. And so they asked him a bunch of questions. And so when we came to the line, we're at the end of the line. Well, you were at the end of the line.
I was.
So he came through. He asked him questions from that conversation earlier, which I thought was just pretty neat. It was very cool. Anyway, it was a great show. I learned a lot, and I had fun, and it was a really good show. So
yeah, even like the folks that work at the Huckabee Show, they're like, this is, just a super fun lineup. Like, they have a lot of great guests, but they're like, just in particular, like this particular show was just a really, really fun lineup with the zombies and Terry Fator. And I mean, you met Rudy Giuliani. Like, that's crazy. Dennis Kucinich was hilarious, and
so
took pictures with us. Yeah, everybody is just so good. Now, let me tell you what I did when I went out. So Michele paid attention to the fact that the show will collect items for nonprofits, and and that's something really cool that they, I guess, probably been doing for the last year. And so you had some supplies you brought to the green room with you. Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to make Ross walk through the theater,
carrying diapers and
bottle of Tide and diapers or whatever it was that you had.
It was dress. It was dress because it was for babies. So we wanted to make sure that,
So we come out there, and Wynette's grandmother kind of motions like for us to come her direction. And I said, and I looked and I was like, is that Wynette? And she said, yeah. And so I leaned around and I was like, hey, sis, Michele brought a donation. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's so great. Set it right up here. So while I'm doing that, Wynette's mother is seating Ross in the VIP area, which is just a few chairs right behind the sound guy, right? I put this stuff up. I say to Wynette, whatever, goodbye, have a great show. I turn around and she points, Wynette's mother points, like, here's where you're going to sit. And I say, okay, it's dark. The house lights are already down. And so I just kind of ease into the chair beside Ross. They're kind of bar top height chairs, and I ease into the chair right beside Ross. And I'm like, yada, 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 yada. And I just start saying something to Ross. And this random man looks at me like, what? I go, oh, you're not Ross. And I go, oh, hey, I'm June. Nice to meet you. And he goes, nice to meet you too. And then I look over and Ross is all the way down at the other end of the platform. Like, I just nestled up to some random man and started saying random things, which is kind of my style anyway. And I look over and your husband's like, down here. It's like, what are you doing? So, I always have to have a June moment everywhere I go. I tell you, every time I go somewhere, I end up doing something goofy or silly. But listen, you did something fantastic. You came in, you rocked the house. You were just a light on stage. I watched you interact with people after the show. There were some people that it was their first time ever to be at the show, and it was just, you could tell it was just an honor for them to get to talk to you and hang out with somebody who had been on the stage just moments before. And I think all the way around, the only negative thing I can say is that you were not at the bed and breakfast long enough. Okay, two negative things. I wish you could have stuck around and we could have spent more time together. And number two is those horrific pictures of me that you chose to post later, like, makes me question our friendship. So that's all. Now, Michele, and I hope that Ross got to enjoy lots of kazoo music all the way back to Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah, he was like, when you gonna fall asleep? It's okay if you fall asleep. I got it. I know where we're going. I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, I got it. You should sleep. I know how to get to my aunt's house. You should sleep. So
Nice.
yeah, it was. I wish. I know that we'll have more time because we have a couple other trips coming up this summer. So I know that we'll be spending more time together. I was disappointed that the pool wasn't open. So, because you know how much I love to sunbathe.
Yes, with that ivory skin. Literally, you could have gone out there. It was 48 degrees. It's probably the best weather for you to be by the pool. So I apologize that I didn't have it open for you.
And I did walk away with some bruises, not from you attempting to punch, from your dog, because that dog, his tail. So, I'm shorter than you. So when his tail was just going crazy, and he's a very friendly dog, very, very, very wonderful dog. But Reggie left some major welts on my thighs. I'm just going to say, from that tail. Oh, this was funny. So Reggie has, he's got beds anywhere he wants, in the house. And he climbs up on the couch, he's the family dog. So I was doing my hair or something, and I come out of the bathroom, and Reggie is in my spot on the bed. And I look at Ross. I'm like, he's like, he just jumped up here. He lives here. I'm like, his bed's over there. I said, Reggie, down, go to your bed. And so he hops off, and then he jumped into his own spot. But I was like, Ross, you're supposed to be protecting me right now, Anyway, so
well, Reggie knows he's not allowed on the bed, and he only did that because he is smart enough to assume that you guys didn't know any better. So he played you like a sucker.
I knew better. I knew better. Ross does not. He just, like, if it's babies or animals, Ross just lets them do whatever. I figured they knew what they're doing. Like every single time, I'm like, his bed's over there. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, just so our listeners know, he's a boxer retriever mix, and his tail is like a whip. It is like and it's too late. There's nothing I can do about it. I would never like bob a dog's tail. But now I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is probably why some people bob dogs' tails, because it really is like, it's a weapon. But he's an amazing guard dog. If he doesn't bite him, he'll just beat him to death with his tail. So even if he loses his teeth when he's old, he can still protect my house.
Turn around and
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, no, he's a fabulous dog. And our dog didn't have a tail because when we rescued her and her litter mates were like run over by a car, all sorts. So her tail was broken. So it wasn't only, so it was just a little nub, but it didn't even actually work. So like they had to already amputate the rest of it. And then, but her little nub, it was just there. It was just hair covering because there was nothing. So you never knew if she was happy. I know, you never knew if she's happy or not because she couldn't wiggle. But she was a great dog. We had her for like
Michele, it's now time to end this episode. It was such a good episode. So you start talking about puppies being hit by cars and broken tails.
But we rescued her, so it's okay. She lived a very long, very happy life. I'm just saying. I mean, and we still have her. She's out back in the yard, so it's fine.
Michele, now we're talking about your dead dog. Now you're talking about it being buried. This is not how I wanted this episode to end, but now I just want this episode to end. You're breaking my heart.
Okay. I know we're going to end, but so let me just change it for a minute. Let me ask you this. Why did the peanut take everything off its wall?
Peanut. I don't know. Michelle, just tell us your mom joke.
It didn't want any walnuts.
Goodness. Listen, okay, y'all. If you haven't fully given up on us, we would love for you to go on Facebook and Instagram and like the Laugh Support podcast. And listen, if you're listening to the Laugh Support podcast, then you can watch us on YouTube, Vimeo, and the Creative Motion Network on Roku TV. And if you're watching us and you want to listen while you're traveling, well, you can find the Laugh Support podcast on basically any podcast platform. I personally apologize to Michelle. I promise that no pets or animals were injured in the taping of this episode of the Laugh Support podcast. And hey, if you want to get one of Michelle's t-shirts, reach out to her at Michelle with one L, michellescomedy.com, and of course, JuneColsonComedy.com for the Oopsie Daisy t-shirt. Michelle, I'm ending with Jesus and Junebug Loves You. Say no more and press end to this episode.